Yo peeps, it's Tripl-L, and now it's time to talk about Konosuba Season 2 Episode 1. It is back, and man, it's a fun little episode. It was a perfect, example of how terrible people can be and how miserable these characters make Kazuma. And it's just, it's humor from the sheer audacity and stupidity of characters, and you know what, I like that brand of humor. Like, it's a very unpleasant episode in all honesty, watching what went down in this episode, but that's Konosuba at its finest. Everyone's kind of a dirtbag, and you kind of just, you go along with it. You see it happening and you get some laughs out of it. That said, guys, hey, welcome to the video. Let's talk about it. I am doing this in top moment style. I'm going to be talking about Konosuba. I'm going to point out my 5 favorite standout moments from this episode, and from there, we'll just talk about the episode. I'll tell you from now, my top 5 favorite moments were the bit with Aqua trying to break out Kazuma, her actually staying outside and then being yelled at by the guards for staying outside. Really suspicious. The next, the power shift during the interrogation of Kazuma, when the girl realized, or the prosecutor realized, that he wasn't as bad as she thought, and then the immediate power shift back when Kazuma just goes too far and points out the thing about the boyfriend. Also, special props to that character. She has some really weird poses in the episode, but you know what? It works. It works for her. It's kind of adorable. No, I don't know. The next moment being at the end of the episode, where we find out the army marched in and just took all their stuff. The cries of anguish in that scene, that was pathetic and funny. And finally, my favorite moment is really good girl Darkness. Darkness is probably my second favorite character after Kazuma. You would not be surprised if you heard me say I am a big shipper of the Kazuma Darkness relationship. Anyway, before we actually get into those 5 moments and actually talk about it, let's talk about the episode as a whole. I noticed something in the episode. The art is questionable. There's something going on with the art. The faces, if you notice in certain frames, aren't exactly crisp. They aren't exactly normal looking. But after seeing the opening, and man, I love this opening. I like this opening way more than the first one. This one's a way more coherent story. But after seeing the opening, I realized that was a design choice, that they purposely have chosen to kind of cut back on the artistic quality for the faces in favor of more exaggerated facial expressions, in favor of more fluid facial expressions. Because let's face it, the faces of despair in this episode, that's Konosuba's comedy right there. The opening is full of it, and it does well enough. The animation is fluid because they've sacrificed the art detail. And for that reason, I'll respect it. So that's one technical aspect of the episode. Otherwise, let's just talk about the episode now. And I think my biggest talking point is really going to be the moment that culminated with Darkness making her sacrifice. But before we get there, let's appreciate the other moments, like the bit with Aqua trying to get Kazuma out of the jail. It was funny, and in this segment we were reminded that Aqua doesn't wear underwear, and it's actually ridiculous how does no one take advantage of that? Anyway, Aqua was pathetically stupid in this episode, and I appreciated it. I liked what she tried to do. I liked that she threw Kazuma different items, and had Aqua been more competent, maybe something would have happened. It was hilarious when she realized that the solution to her problem of her companions being found out was just to give them masks. Yeah, that's Aqua. That's definitely Aqua. The next 2 moments being the power shift during the interrogation. That was funny too, only because of the desperation, the despair that Kazuma felt as he had to correct himself on what just an undesirable he is. And then finally, when he's able to answer that he's not that bad, and the whole power dynamic, how the persecutor just kind of became way cuter, way more embarrassed. It was just funny. And it was adorable until Kazuma pointed out the whole thing about the boyfriend. That was unfortunate. And then ultimately what culminated in Kazuma getting implicated when he didn't realize the connection to Wiz was kind of in the statement that he was given. It was a nice little way of progressing through the episode. Like the progression of the episode was pretty consistent throughout. Then I'm gonna just skip over the part with the reclaiming of their stuff, because that was just a moment where you get to see all these still shots of shit going down and everyone losing their stuff and everyone crying. Props to the voice actress. The cries of despair that's something I got used to Konosuba. I'm glad that they're really committing to it. And then Good Girl Darkness, this is pretty much the crux of the episode where she pulls her authority and is able to get Kazuma off the hook because we have a corrupt judge there. Now let's talk about the corrupt judge, because this is something that people could complain about the episode. All throughout the episode, we're having situations where anything could have gone wrong, like the magical lie detector could have been rigged against him and they were taking it so seriously. The good thing the episode does is that, first off, I doubt that the magical lie detector could ever be rigged. I doubt that it could. It's just, I think fundamentally they will accept it's magic, so no one's smart enough to actually know how to rig it. But even looking towards the whole episode, from the very beginning, this is like the most unpleasant thing ever. Look, this whole episode was rigged right from the start, and it becomes super apparent when you have the persecutor not listening to the full consequences or not listening to the full story of the evidence. That is the moment that you as a viewer should accept that, oh, okay, you know what? What's ultimately pushing the plot forward, what's ultimately pushing the plot progression forward is humor. Because of that, you have to, as a viewer, kind of either decide at what point you're going to stop suspending disbelief. Because especially for Konosuba, which is pretty much running on audacity, is pretty much running on pretty crummy people, pretty crummy personalities the majority of the time. Because it's constantly running on that for its source of humor and plot progression, you kind of have to set back your expectations and be like, well, Konosuba isn't going to take things super seriously. And seeing that it was so rigged against Kazuma, and seeing that a simple thing such as rewarding his statement could make such an effect, it's just telling you, like, don't worry about it, just take this light, this is just the logic of this world. And Kazuma makes a mention to it. He says, screw the medieval times, screw medieval logic. It's just the way that the Konosuba series works. It runs on audacity, it runs on pathetic characters, and it is no coincidence that the person who gets Kazuma out of this is Darkness, who, while she does have a really I don't even know, like, how would you describe that character quirk? A very no, I don't want to, that's too easy. Who has a very suggestive character quirk. She's not as incompetent as Aqua and Melorine. She's just not. Like, there's a fundamental level of quality when you compare the girls within the main cast. Anyway, not the point. As you can see, my bias for Darkness is popping out. When we also had the judge being pretty much forced by the noble, pretty much being eyed down in, like, plain view, everyone saw that happening. It was the sign that, or the reminder, don't take this seriously. This is a pretty shitty place, and shit's gonna happen because some people here aren't the best people in the world. And, you know, Konosuba is a series that kind of plays on, I guess, the patheticness of its characters. It's the patheticness of the characters that gives way for the comedy moments, and it's the patheticness of the characters that gives way for those really heartwarming moments. And so, you know, I as another viewer to another viewer, I would just say, you know, take it easy. It's a comedy show. It's there for your entertainment. Don't think about it too hard. It doesn't matter how rigged things were. Like, the point of it was that it was overly rigged, that no one really cared. Anyway, guys, Konosuba, I didn't think I'd take so much time to actually try and defend a comedy show for being a comedy. But yeah, I think that'll be it. The other 5 moments, you know, they're just the moments that really stood out to me. They're the moments that made me chuckle, and I really appreciate them. I'm excited to see where we go from here. I'm excited to see what happens to Darkness with that noble. Like, because of her weird character quirk, like, I'm not really worried about her, because any abuse she gets, it's gonna be good for her. unfortunately. That's Konosuba. That's Konosuba. I'm thinking about this series, and I'm thinking about my impressions about Masamune-kun no Revenge, and it's weird. It's weird because that series, like, my fundamental problem with it when I made that video was that it was a plot that was based, or the premise that was based on malicious intent, whereas in Konosuba, the plot progresses because the characters are not that honorable, they're not that redeemable. It's just weird. Anyway, guys, let me know what you thought of the video. Let me know what you thought of Konosuba for the first episode. I'm taking the approach, this is a comedy. I'm turning off my brain. I'm just going to sit down. If there is something that is inconsistent within Konosuba's own logic, I will most likely talk about it. But otherwise, I'm just going to enjoy the ride. Konosuba's back. It's a funny little show. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. And till next time, I hope you have a great day.